What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Stand Up Guys Podcast, episode 145. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the Ninth Wonder, Chocolate Thunder, licking feet and beating his beat. From the big toe to the pinky, he likes them dirty and stinky. He's got a case of athlete's tongue and a high heel in his bung. The phenomenal A.J. Singh.
None of that is true. Don't believe it.
That is a new one, by the way.
That is a new one. Yeah, that's definitely a new one.
I mean, eventually, there's only so many sexual fetishes. I had to get to feet sometime.
Let's see what comes up next.
All right. What you been watching this week? Anything?
Not really, man. I haven't been watching much TV.
No?
Yeah. I am... Yeah, I don't know. I'm just looking forward to the new movies coming out, stuff like that. Just the new Spider-Man. We talked about that.
The summer movie season is upon us.
Yeah, and The Flash. The Flash, everybody keeps saying good things. Ezra Miller's locked away in some facility somewhere. So, yeah, let's see what happens with that.
I know. I feel like they're just like, we got to keep him out of the public view until after we make our money off of this movie so we can dump him.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly they got him to stop his crime spree, but... I think they just have him in a straitjacket somewhere. That's what it seems like. I don't know how else you could stop him. He was out of control.
They're like, we'll give you a bonus if you can just stay out of the public eye.
I feel like with him, money's not a factor. I feel like when you're at that level of just absurdity, like the way you're behaving, like I think, because he's already getting paid a bunch of money for being in the movie in the first place, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I assume he made his money a long time ago.
So I mean, he could have had a great, fulfilling career for the next 15 years or something if he just, acted normal.
I do wonder if Ezra Miller's career is just going to be over, or if they can say that, oh, it was caused by mental illness. Now I'm better. But I mean. The one big strike is the accusation of grooming the underage child.
Yeah.
That kind of even if you are mentally ill, that is not going to sit well in the court of public opinion at all.
Not.
So I don't know. I think Ezra Miller is done.
Yeah, I think he is too. I mean, thing is, it's not even just one thing. That's a big deal, but he's done multiple things to reinforce that idea that he's just I mean, yeah, maybe he had a mental breakdown, but then he's got to go on TV and talk about that and explain himself. He's got to do the whole press tour, to recover his image.
I will say though, did you? Because I remember hearing the story of he was in. I want to say it was somewhere weird, Iceland or somewhere like that, and they made it sound like he choke slammed some girl or something. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that sounds bad. Eventually I watched the video and he clearly, or I guess Ezra Miller prefers to be called they or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they appear to be drunk and you could tell that Ezra Miller, it didn't look all that violent when you actually watch it. It looked like they were being stupid, shouldn't have done it, but still messing around, and it didn't look like the girl was all that upset or anything, So I don't know. It did. When I heard people talking about it in the news story, I thought, oh, this sounded really violent. And that particular situation, it really wasn't.
Okay.
But then you hear this other story, he chucked a chair at some lady too, and
was he at the Waffle House?
I don't remember, but I remember when he was on that spree, or I guess I can't. My brain, when I'm just talking extemporaneously. Using the plural pronoun in a singular, my brain just can never do it.
Right.
But yeah, I expect after the Flash has made his money, we'll hear the announcement that they've dumped Ezra Miller.
Yeah, I would think so too.
But really, I think if it's true that the Flash is going to set up some sort of reset, it should be fine.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, you could maybe cast Grant Gustin. People are really pushing for that. A lot of fans are.
Here's the thing: I know people are pushing for that, and I like Grant Gustin, and but I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay.
So, well, just because listen, I still watch The Flash, like even though it's gotten not very good. I still really love those first couple seasons. Those are
Yeah,
awesome.
they were great. Yeah.
And I've had my fun in the later seasons too, intermittently, even though I'll totally admit it's gone downhill
Yeah.
quality wise. But I just think people, like, even if you say, okay, it's a whole new continuity, people are still going to associate him with that show
Yeah.
and the quality going down and stuff. So
That's
I don't
true,
think
yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea to link those things.
I can see that. The CW is getting rid of a bunch of those DC shows, huh? Now I think they're just left with Superman and Lois, or is that getting canceled too?
Well, I imagine it will get canceled eventually because they're going to want eventually once these, the ones under James Gunn's direction start. They're not going to want those older ones. But yeah, I think pretty much everything's been canceled except, well, there was a show that debuted I think just this year or maybe last year called Gotham Knights.
Oh, I heard about
right,
that.
and it's supposed to be god awful. So I can't. I don't think they've officially said they've canceled that, but they're going to cancel that for sure. For sure. And then I don't know about Superman and Lois, whether it'll be canceled after this season or if maybe they'll let it go one more.
I heard it's a little expensive for them to make. Like
Is
they
it?
don't make that much money off of it.
I will say I've watched the first two seasons, and once the new season is on Max now, they're calling it or whatever, I'll definitely watch it. It's a good show actually.
Okay,
I like it.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, but I've heard it's weird because I think CW maybe is like changing owners or something. And yeah, I saw like a headline that said like they were kind of getting out of the superhero business altogether or something.
Okay.
But
I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with their changing direction. I feel like whenever somebody buys a station, they just start cutting costs. Like they're gonna make even shittier shows.
well,
It'd be some reality show.
it's funny because the CW really like they were never producing like real quality television.
right.
They were kind of making like a lot of like angsty teen shows.
Yeah,
And really, if you watch Arrow, it still has a lot of that DNA in it.
yeah, it does. Arrow's like a soap opera.
Yeah, I always said like, most of the CW superhero shows felt like superhero shows with soap opera elements, whereas Arrow felt like a soap opera with some superhero elements.
For sure.
Like it, yeah. Like I hear a lot of people saying that Arrow is the best of those CW shows, and I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It is
yeah.
not. And I watched it the whole way through for some godforsaken reason.
There's a show, Supernatural. Did you ever watch that show?
I haven't, but I know it lasted like something like 15 seasons or something, a long time.
Yeah, it ran. But that show was also like, it started out like, there was some soap opera qualities to it, but it started out like at least a lot of supernatural stuff, a lot of fun, ghost hunting, whatever. And then like, man, after the fifth season, even before the fifth season, it was definitely like a lot of drama and stuff. But man, it became such a soap opera after that. Every little thing. Bobby, where's my car? Oh no, I knew. Like everything's just so silly and stupid and dramatic. And Sam and Dean, the two brothers, oh my god, every time they had to have some sort of brotherly quarrel or something. Like things were just never normal on that show.
They were supernatural. Yeah, that's a tough thing. Is so many shows become the victim of their own success because like there's so many shows that I feel like if they were just like 5 seasons, you would have been like, oh my man, that show was so strong all the way through, like Breaking Bad was. But they get successful and they're like, well, we should keep it going. We should keep the money train going, and eventually the quality just dips and dips and dips, and a lot of time the budget dips and dips and dips, and and it shows.
Yeah, I mean, usually that is the case with good TV shows. They don't let them die when they're supposed to. They milk them and they run them into the ground.
Yeah, I from a quality standpoint, and I understand why studios wouldn't necessarily want to do it, but I think if they were had a better outline to begin with, to where they're like, okay, we're only going like 5 seasons and we have a rough outline for what each season is going to be. Yeah. And like maybe as we're going along, if we can tell we can get like, a really strong 6th season out of it or something, maybe we'll do that. But yeah, I just, it always feels like a problem once they go more than that.
Yeah.
They almost always start suffering.
Exactly. And I mean, you just run out of ideas and stuff, you know. It's just hard to keep making new stuff.
That's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess there's certain maybe sitcoms and stuff that ran
Yeah.
a long time that were still funny. Like Everybody Loves Raymond is one of my favorite sitcoms. I think it went for something like 9 seasons, and it was still like strong throughout. But I don't know. I feel like most shows, man, they go that long and they just start going downhill.
And they did introduce that, like, Robert's fiance or wife, whatever. I did not like her character at all. She was weird to me.
I mean, she was weird, but then like so is his character. So to me, it was fine.
Oh, man.
And her like uber like religious family. Oh, I did finish. So I was talking last week. I started that Korean show on Netflix called The Glory.
Oh, yeah.
It was like this revenge tale about this woman getting revenge on these kids that like viciously bullied her in school. And it was pretty good. It was pretty good overall. Like some cool twists and turns and stuff. And yeah, man, if you're looking for a good revenge tale, I recommend The Glory on Netflix.
As long as she doesn't have a change of heart and lets them go at the end.
I don't want to spoil anything, but some people get some comeuppance in that show.
Good deal.
Oh, what? You probably weren't affected by this, but Netflix. I knew this was coming for many months, but Netflix finally, is cracking down on people sharing passwords.
Yeah.
So like, I share mine, or I did with my parents, and then I got the email that was like, "Nope, you're not doing that anymore." So I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mom."
Yeah, well, I haven't really shared my password with anybody, so I mean, I wouldn't have cared, but yeah, I mean, man, Netflix is really losing money, man. They must be hemorrhaging money or something.
That is true. I kind of wonder, like, the money they gain from doing this, like, versus just like bad PR.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, ultimately, I don't know. Maybe they probably get more money out of it, but there is a trade-off, I think, there.
Yeah, it looks bad. I mean, I still have Netflix, but it's really just like, because I've had it for so long, and sometimes I go on there and just look for stuff, and maybe I'll find, but it's skim, like there's not a lot of good stuff. I mean, even if there is good stuff, I don't see it on there. It's not on my landing page when I, open up the app. So, yeah, I really don't even use it that much. I don't care to cancel it just because it's not, super expensive or anything. It is a streaming service that's sort of useful to have. Maybe TV shows that I like from before end up on there or something like that. But I don't know. Netflix is just, I don't think it's big enough to really do the stuff that it's doing now.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't watch it a lot. I've watched it more recently just because I've gotten into these like weird Korean shows that I've been watching. But like, really, like, I would have canceled it, I think, quite a while ago. But I was happy to let my parents use it.
Yeah.
Because they share their like Amazon Prime thing with me. But like now, I might cancel it and just dip in every once in a while. Because to be honest, like mostly like Netflix original shows, like there's not a lot of them that like really, like I'll come back when like Stranger Things is on there, I guess. But like there's not a ton of Netflix originals that really do it for me.
Yeah, now that other people are starting their own streaming services, it's not like they're sending their content to Netflix anymore. So,
well, that's the other thing is like most like legacy shows that people really like, they're already owned by people that have their own streamers, whether that's HBO, Paramount, whoever, like
Peacock.
Peacock. All those old shows that people have an affection for are already owned by others. So Netflix relies, they do still license. I mean, because they like, have like Seinfeld on there, I guess. So they still pay to license like certain legacy materials.
Yeah, but you can't just have like Seinfeld and Friends, and that's gonna carry you. Like I saw Friends like 20 years ago. I don't care to watch Friends again.
You know what though? Apparently, like when Netflix was on, or when Friends was on Netflix, it was like one of their biggest viewed things. Like it's a huge property still somehow.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that says more about Netflix's other properties. Like, if a 20-year-old show is your biggest, best running show, then you got problems.
Man, I don't know. Yeah. Friends is one of those shows I watched back in the day only because we had so few options.
Yeah.
Like I did watch it, and like I'm not totally crapping on it. Like it was fine, I guess, but it's one of those things where if I had the options of today, I would have never gave it a chance.
Yeah, it's like those shows from the 70s, like Who's the Boss? Like, I used to watch Who's the Boss, and, people watch MASH and stuff, but those were like the only shows, too.
Right.
And Friends was kind of like that for a while, too, where it was like the only show that a lot of people would watch just because it was okay. But, yeah, there's so much more content now. I'd never watch Friends now. Yeah.
And I hear people like talking on podcasts and stuff about like their kids today are getting into Friends and really liking it. I'm like, it just surprises me that it was like hooks like a younger generation.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I don't know. Not that good of a show.
And also, I remember also like Netflix losing The Office was a big thing because The Office was one of the most like viewed things too.
Yeah.
So they've lost these like legacy shows that people really love, and just most of your original content, especially like, I mean, they get some okay TV, but like, are there like Netflix movies seem to be trash for the most part.
I don't really watch a lot of. I saw like one with like The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and
Oh yeah, Red Notice.
Which
yeah. I know did big numbers for him, but like critically, I know it was pretty panned. Did you like it?
It was mediocre.
Right.
I only watched it because of the actors in it. I thought, okay, well, The Rock sometimes carries a movie by himself, and Ryan Reynolds is in it, so maybe it'll be funny or something.
And they had Gal Gadot.
Gal
too.
Gadot.
I mean, yeah, they had big names, but yeah, that's about all I had going for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have the money. They can't hire like a James Gunn type person or something, like some good directors to make some unique content that's in their creative vision.
I mean, in their defense, I think they have had some big name people direct movies for them, but like, I don't know if they've had any what people would consider bangers.
Man. How do you fail that many times?
It is weird. I don't know. I'm curious what happens to Netflix. Like they still have this huge subscriber base, but like a part of me wonders like how they can keep like putting out stale material and keeping that base.
Yeah, because at some point, it's going to solidify in people's minds that Netflix just sucks. Like it's starting to be that way for me. Like I used to, when I first got Netflix, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Right.
And now it's like it's pretty mediocre. And then eventually, if it stays this way, I'm going to be like, it's pointless.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat. I'm like, I might cancel it for a while and just start dipping in every now and again.
Yeah.
And then, like, I kind of want to subscribe to, well, I guess it's just Max now, which is so stupid, but I've heard that, like, a lot of people aren't liking whatever changes they made to that app. Like,
I canceled it.
Did you?
I canceled it based on the stuff that they were saying, like what they're trying to do, go more middle America and this and that. I was like, that's not for me. I don't need to watch farmers.
Well, I can tell you for sure, like, dumping the Discovery stuff on there does nothing for me because it's just a bunch of bad reality shows.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that crap. It just muddies the whole thing.
And that's cost cutting, like reality shows are cheap to make, so for them it's like, okay, put out a bunch of this content, easy to make, and we'll profit as much as possible off of it.
Man, with this writing strike going on too, we're just gonna get bombarded with even more reality television. So much of that crap.
And reality TV, I mean, it's already oversaturated, man. It was like 10 years ago. It was so bad. I don't have cable anymore, so I don't know how much of that stuff is still going on. But I run from reality TV. I can't watch
I do
it.
too. I've always hated it, and like, but it's so successful, and I'm just like, doesn't there have to be like you said, like an oversaturation point of reality television? How can all of these be surviving? I don't understand.
I don't know either. I mean, I think it's just because it's so cheap to make that, they can keep making them and get as little viewership to survive. Like, they can maybe a a few 100,000 people watch the show, and they're like, okay, well, it's still making money, so it's worth it.
That might be it. And also, like, maybe because they're cheap to produce, maybe they're like, well, we'll put out 15 of these things. Maybe 14 of them will fail, but if one of them is like The Bachelor or whatever,
Yeah.
and it, you know, it'll take off, and we can just milk that for the next 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, The Apprentice, like that show, they were going to cancel it before the writer's strike. It was doing that bad. But then once the writer's strike happened, that's pretty much all they had. And they were doing great after that, because that's what people were watching. There was nothing else to watch. So they just ran with it.
Well, I heard a news story that like ABC just announced like their, fall lineup of shows, and like the vast majority of it is reality television because of the writer's strike.
Golly.
And it's just like, whew. I know like at least 3 like Marvel productions are on halt right now because of the strike.
I'm surprised ABC and all those networks don't take a bigger hit because of the cable, cord cutting that people are doing. I know streaming services can still have them, but I mean, there's a lot of streaming services that don't have live TV too. The people just aren't using it as much. I'm not using it,
Right.
so I'm surprised CBS, ABC, NBC are still making as much as they were before, if they are even.
Well, I mean, I think most of those go to some sort of streaming, as well. I don't, because I have Hulu, and I notice there'll be like ABC shows and stuff on there, so they all go somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta imagine like it is bizarre to me that cable is still hanging on.
Yeah. I thought it was mostly because of sports and news.
I think it is.
And even news is taking a hit. Like, people aren't watching it like they used to.
No, like from what I understand, like even like Fox, they always brag that they get the best ratings, and I think they still do. But I think it's not very many people overall.
Yeah, their viewer base, I mean, I think it's a lot of older people,
Yeah.
So they're all dying and stuff.
And CNN, I think, is supposed to be pretty abysmal too.
Yeah, see, I think they're all like becoming more extreme. Like they're trying to rile people up so they'll watch more and more.
Well, CNN, I think, tried to take the opposite thing where they tried to play the middle and be like, have one person on from this side, one person on from this side, and people just found it like bland and, and they even at one point, CNN tried to launch their own streaming service like CNN Plus or something, and it failed immediately.
Of course.
Immediately failed.
Yeah.
Like crashed and burned up, dead on arrival.
I don't know what they were thinking with the
No, I can't imagine.
dollar signs.
Can you imagine liking news enough that you're like, I'm going to subscribe to this thing that's just news 24/7?
I mean, there's already so much of that. I don't understand. Like, is it better news? Like, hey, we actually check our sources on this one. But I thought CNN was taking like a right turn recently. Like they got like a new like ownership or management or something like that. I don't know.
You might be right. I think I might have heard something like that too. It wouldn't surprise me if they're like, oh, our ratings are going down, and we can see that like the more conservative television news networks are the ones doing better numbers. We'll go to take a right hand turn. I could definitely see that happening.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's nuts. Like all these news, it's all about the money. It's all about following the dollar.
It is, yeah. I mean,
like there was a time, like I guess it's always been about the money, but it's also been about like uncovering information and trying to like
right.
Being the fourth estate.
Right.
This is ridiculous. You can't call them the fourth estate.
No. No, I mean, television news has been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'll say for like, before I discovered like, more like niche YouTube stuff that I like more, I would actually, when I watch news, I would watch, a fair amount of like MSNBC, thinking like, okay, these are the like, more liberal people, which they are, but then you realize, oh, wait, every commercial is like a pharmacy commercial, and these guys are all bought and paid for too, and they really just want corporate Democrats in the office. They're never gonna like, push a Bernie Sanders type. And so you're like, oh, geez.
Yeah, to me, a corporate Democrat, a Republican, they're the same thing, man.
They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the Democrat's probably going to be a little better on social issues.
He'll say the right things.
Right.
But then once he gets elected, that same rich person's going to be funding them as, they're funding anybody else. So they're bought and paid for. They're going to say whatever somebody else wants them to say.
It's so disappointing that there's never, like, anytime there is like a progressive Democrat, they're either like, I mean, I like Bernie, but just like Biden, he's getting up there in age, and like, I don't think he's necessarily as charismatic as you'd maybe want him to be for like, and then like this year, like they're running like that Marianne Williamson, and like,
Wait, who's running her?
well, she's running as like a more progressive candidate. I think she's going to try to like challenge Biden.
Oh god.
But like the thing with her is like, yeah, like on policy wise, like I probably agree with her on quite a bit, but it's like I see her like debate and stuff, and she's all about this like, oh, hippy dippy, like the power of love is going to win the day kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's never going to win people over.
No, it's not.
It's just not. I'm sorry. Like, I would prefer her over Biden, but I can't see her even standing a chance.
I had heard something about her last time when she was like running or something. I don't know what it was, but she's got some sellout qualities to her too.
Does she?
Yeah. I think something about her backers or something. I mean, they've all got these backers who are they got their own self-interest, and they're just parroting whatever they want them to say, man. At the end of the day, when they get into office, they're going to do what that billionaire wants them to do.
Yeah. Do you think Bernie Sanders would have been that way if he did win?
I think he had a better shot at like standing up for himself and doing more what he believed is right.
But look at him. Like, he was doing so good up until like, because like I think, what did they do? Like, I forget what it is, Vermont. And then, or no, Iowa, is it Iowa, New Hampshire? Like how they do those states?
Yeah, the primaries.
Like, I think he did very well in those ones. And then South Carolina came along, and that's when all the other, like, corporate Democrats, like, banded together.
Yeah.
And even the DNC, like, did everything they could to screw him over. And, of course, it worked.
Yeah.
And we got stuck with Biden.
Yeah, I mean, I have my conspiracy theories. Like the whole Southern strategy, like the Republicans, like Democrats, like switched and stuff. I'm like, I don't know if the Democrats ever really switched over. I think they were always like, we'll just pretend to be like more progressive, just for the money, and that's pretty much. We'll just keep doing the same thing we've been doing because they haven't really. Every time they have power, they don't do anything. They don't change anything.
No, and the thing is like a lot of things, because like with the way Congress in this country works, like it's so hard to get any new law passed. So like the most radical change a president can do is through executive action, executive orders. And honestly, I just want a president that will actually do that.
Yeah.
Like Biden could do like so many things through executive orders. He could forgive student loans. He could essentially make marijuana legal by like, because he can change. I think he can change like what it's classified as like how they be like this is a schedule whatever drug. I think he can somehow through executive order like bring that down to essentially make it legal. So there's a lot of things that can be done through executive action, and like I get the whole like, oh, we want to do this the right way and come to a compromise and do it through Congress, and I'm just like, I'm so like over that.
Yeah.
I'm like, because it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You just look at some of these things and you're like, it's never going to happen.
I think it's all just lies, man. They just say, oh, we're taking the high road. It's more like we're not going to do anything. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you just look at the structure of how our government works. And I know people like to like really like blow the founders and be like, oh, this is so good. And I'm like, and to be fair, like, I know the founders thought by like making the Constitution amendable, like that was going to be like, oh, that'll, make it so we're always like up to date and stuff. But they could have never really forecasted that things would be so hard to change.
Yeah.
And so they tried, but I think we can say that it didn't work.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough because when I think about like, it just seems like we're doomed because the only way to change things would to be, make it straight up illegal for any corporate money to go into candidates.
Yeah.
And the only way that can happen is by people in the positions of power changing the laws to not benefit themselves.
Exactly.
And so, like, it's no, so like, I'm really thinking like, if your country in its founding doesn't have, just baked into it, very strict, unchangeable laws that it's impossible to give corporate money to candidates, like you're screwed.
Yeah. Eventually, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Like they taught us in college, like that corporations are becoming the new countries. That was like 10 years ago when I was in college, and they were like, countries are going to lose power. It's going to be corporations that become like the new, like the new foundation of society. And I was like, that sucks. Back then I was like, that's horrible. That's a terrible thing because corporations don't have anybody's interest in mind. But they would teach it like they did, oh, well, corporations are a part of your community, blah, blah.
Right.
Like, what? Like, corporations have been part of many communities, and you know what they do to them? Like, they bleed them dry. They make those communities rely on them, and they just charge them for rent and everything, and they end up, like, using them as slaves. But, yeah, it's scary, man. And people are buying into it. I don't know. Like, look, Lauren Boebert, I heard, she went from, like, being broke. After 2 years in Congress, she's worth like over $40 million, I think.
Jeez.
It's just, that's how it is. It's a cash grab. They go in there, they make their money, they get out. That's politics.
Man, a part of me like wonders, like, let's say you were given the option, like we keep the exact government we have now, or we switch over to a pure democracy, meaning that we get rid of Congress and everybody votes directly on the laws.
Yeah.
Like a part of that is attractive to me because it cuts out that corruption. Mm-hmm. And if you look at polls, like a large percentage of Americans like do take like progressive stances on things, like they want like
gun
universal health care and gun laws and stuff like that. So part of me wonders, would that be better? But then a part of me is so scared because a lot of this country is still very religious, and also can be swayed very easily by the right people or the wrong people, really. And so that scares me enough that I'm like, would I prefer that?
Right. I mean, it all comes down to how educated the society is, and we've done a good job of like limiting education. We've got people proposing shutting down public schools now.
Well, isn't it crazy that the Republicans have been so brazen lately about changing the education system to indoctrinate kids to their ways?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so scary.
And they're doing it, in Florida. It's very, it's taken on a lot of steam. Like DeSantis passed a lot of laws to. I think he's kind of cast out like African American studies, but he's pushed in Asian American studies. And Asian Americans are very nervous about this because, like, historically they've been the wedge between the white community and the black community and used as kind of a scapegoat. And they feel like that's what's happening there, and it could lead to more hate crimes or something.
Well, I guess like a law in, because not just in Florida, I believe it's Ohio, a law was passed, but it's already being like challenged. And I have to assume like if it goes to the Supreme Court or whatever, it should get knocked down. But basically it was this bill about like not saying, teachers are not allowed to say anything. Their wording was like, politically charged. So like they can't teach about global warming because like it's a political issue.
Wow.
They can't talk about like
It's only political because some people make it.
right. They can't talk about like sexual orientation or like trans issues because it's political in nature, and so they're trying to use this like generalized language so like they're not totally blatant. But if you read between the lines, it's like, oh, they want just Republican stuff fed to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. But I mean, that's kind of how it's always been too. It's just, it's more blatant now. Like before, even like when I was in school, I knew that the education system was weird. Like, there were certain teachings I could see right through. Like, that doesn't sound right. Slavery was not that good. Stuff like that. I grew up in Texas.
Well, it's funny how like granular they'll get on things too, because I know a couple years ago there was a story where like, because there's people who basically approve the textbooks that are used in the classroom, and like for whatever reason, like is it maybe Texas or somehow Republicans have really got like sway over that somehow.
Texas,
yeah. And there was like in a one of the like books they proposed, it was a math book, and there was a word problem that was just like in this year, like the amount of intergender marriages was this amount, and like it's been increasing at this rate, like how many of those marriages are interracial marriages will they be in this year or something? It was probably different from that, but it was essentially just a word problem, math problem like that. And like they shut down that question because they said it was like political or whatever. And it's like, geez, Lou, like it's so blatant, They don't even want the notion of like interracial marriage existing.
Yeah, there was like I think a Honey Nut Cheerios commercial with like a black father and a white mother, and people lost their shit. But I think Honey Nut Cheerios was like, yeah, we're gonna keep running that commercial.
That great moment in Spider-Man: Homecoming, where like he's going to pick up his prom date who's black, and like you're surprised because her dad ends up being Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Like, I just think those people probably were watching that movie like, oh my God. Like they weren't surprised. Like, they didn't even care that it was like the villain was her father. They're like, oh my God, he's married to a black woman.
He is evil.
Man, have you seen these idiots too lately that have been, I guess like Target, like they've been selling like Pride T-shirts and things like that. So like there's been these religious guys that go into Targets, and like one of them started like pulling down like their signage and stuff, and like another guy was like going around like harassing customers, being like, "Hey, do you agree with this Satanist propaganda?"
Oh my God.
I saw that video and like, oh my God.
And it's the same people who are like, we got to defend these stores from looters and rioters, and they're out there like vandalizing these stores.
Right.
Oh man, people are wild.
Well, we ate up a lot of time just talking about
Nice.
crazy people. But should we get into story time?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, what do you got for us?
All right, speaking of crazy people, 19-year-old arrested on multiple charges after crashing into barriers near the White House. The suspect made threatening statements about the White House at the scene, a law enforcement official told NBC News. A Nazi flag was seized by authorities at the scene. The 19-year-old Missouri man accused of driving a truck into barriers near the White House made incriminating statements that indicated to investigators that he was seeking to harm the president, officials said Tuesday. The driver was Cy Varshith Kandula of Chesterfield, U.S. Park Police said Tuesday morning. The charges against Kandula for allegedly threatening to kill, kidnap, inflict harm on a president, vice president, or family member stem from statements he made to multiple law enforcement agencies, according to a Secret Service representative. President Joe Biden was in the White House when the truck crashed outside. Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre was said Tuesday he had met with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy Monday night to discuss the debt limit, but it wasn't clear if Biden was informed of the incident as it unfolded. The Secret Service and Park Police briefed him Tuesday morning, according to Jean-Pierre. He's relieved that no one was injured last night and grateful to the agent and law enforcement officer who responded so quickly, she told reporters. The suspect was interviewed by Secret Service investigators Monday night. The agency representative said during the investigation that also involves United States Parks Police, the FBI, and U.S. Capitol Police. Kandula was further charged with assault with a deadly weapon, reckless operation of a motor vehicle, and trespassing. The U-Haul truck is moved away from Lafayette Park across from the White House. It's just a picture. Authorities said the preliminary investigation indicates Kandula intentionally crashed into the bollards of outside Lafayette Park. A Nazi flag was seized by authorities at the scene of the incident. Cy Varsit, a law enforcement official told NBC News that the suspect made threatening statements about the White House at the scene, quickly detained. This truck did not contain weapons or explosives. As for their reaction, the official said, "I don't think there's any place for a Nazi flag or the statements he made." Well, yeah, bold statement, but the white U-Haul truck crashed into the barriers on the north side of Lafayette Square, a few hundred feet from the White House, just before 10 p.m. Eastern. A bystander appeared to capture on his cell phone the moment when the 26-foot U-Haul truck jumped a curb but couldn't fit through the barrier set on the sidewalk. There were no injuries to any Secret Service or White House personnel, and the cause and manner of the crash remain under investigation. What's to investigate? He drove it into. Guglielmi said in a statement posted to Twitter that the truck had been deemed safe by Washington, D.C. police, and that preliminary investigation reveals the driver may have intentionally struck the barriers. The Reuters agency published an image showing a Nazi-style red flag emblazoned with a swastika laid on the ground beside the van. Yeah, so the truck had been seized by officers. I mean, look, this guy was an Indian immigrant. He was 19 years old. It's just embarrassing for the Indian community. Like, first of all, how do you think you're somehow aligned with white supremacy? You're the victim of white supremacy historically. Where does this... I don't understand. How did you think you were white?
It is pretty amazing. Like, I don't even know how that happened.
Well, no. There's a lot of minorities who have this mindset. I've heard of like Hispanics recently having like hate crimes in public where they're like standing up for white supremacy. Like there's a ton of minorities out there who for some reason, I don't know what it is, they think somehow they're aligned to white supremacy, like they benefit from it or something like that. And it's just like, no, you're the victim, dum-dum. You're the one they're using.
It's like a weird Stockholm syndrome where like maybe they've been like taken advantage of by
they're like
whites for so long.
I'm gonna prove that I'm one of them or something. I don't know. But man, like this is just also I get the feeling he's 19. Maybe he was like, he got into the wrong crowd. Like people like made him like kind of think this way.
Right.
But man, I hope this dumbass gets like 10 life sentences.
I mean, still like, I know like a lot of people are easily like, you know, swayed by like stuff they find on the internet and stuff. But that one is so like, it's just so bizarre because like, to take up for like,
a cause that's definitely not your own.
Right, exactly.
It's so strange to me. It's got to be some sort of like Stockholm syndrome. It kind of reminds me of those like ants that get like a fungus in their head and they just do whatever the fungus
the Last of Us like cordyceps ants.
Yeah, it's so weird. And what's also funny to me is like there's so much corruption in India. This guy didn't have the balls to do that over there. Like, you probably could get to one of those politicians easier than you could to an American politician. Right. I don't know. It's just hilarious in my mind, but it's also shockingly embarrassing too.
I mean, we were talking yesterday about a couple years ago, there was that black guy who was like adopted by a white family, and I think he was like basically supporting like keeping like the Confederate statues around and stuff, and people were comparing him to that Dave Chappelle character,
Clayton Bigsby.
Clayton.
But that one at least makes more sense. Like, this guy had 19 years to grow up in another country, or I don't know how long he lived there, but he's had time to understand where he's from,
Right.
and who he is as a person. Oh man, this is I want them to interview this guy and just really break down what his mindset is.
I mean, it's got to be some sort of like weird social conditioning.
Yeah.
It is amazing too, like you said, like he's not technically the only one. There has been others.
Yeah.
And it is very strange.
Yeah, brown Hispanics, like brown as brown can be, with Nazi swastikas on their arms, like tattoos. Like, that would confuse those white supremacists. They would look at you and be like, you got the swastika, but you're the person that we hate. Like, what are you doing?
Well, just like...
Maybe that's their goal, to like not get hate crimed or something, so they become like the perpetrator of the hate crime. I'm one of you guys.
Well, just recently, like, a month ago or so, there was that shooting in, I think it was Allen, Texas.
Yeah,
Which, by the way, my cousin was actually at that mall at the time.
Oh.
Luckily, like,
Yeah.
didn't get shot or anything, but he was there. But I saw on Twitter, like, some sort of right-wing group was pointing out that guy had, like, a Spanish name.
Yeah.
And so they're like, doesn't sound like a white supremacist to me. But then, like, someone online pointed out that, like, neither did these guys that were, like, Spanish and committed, like, these kind of crimes. Yeah. So it's like... I didn't know like this was a thing of like people, and I don't know if specifically that shooter in Allen, Texas was Spanish, but he definitely had like a Spanish name. But yeah, apparently it does happen, and it I don't know how it happens, but it happens.
It's something that really needs to be studied. I can't wait till like 50 years from now when they have like more research done on these people. Like, it's so weird.
Maybe they're like, they know that they're like, I'm going to end up in prison. Maybe I can get a pass to hang out with like the Aryan Nation.
Yeah, gang. Maybe that's what it is. Like, they won't kill me if I pretend to be one of them. Oh, man.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, I got a more lighthearted story for you. Man snaps his penis in 3 places.
Oh, I saw this, yeah.
After a horror accident in the bedroom. A man has broken his penis in 3 places in a horrific sexcapade gone wrong. But don't worry, lads. The man from Tanzania has since fully recovered from his injury. Medics who were called to the hellish accident as an extremely rare urological emergency had to operate on his poor penis to patch up the problem. Doctors detailed the man's doodle dilemma, oh my God, in the International Journal of Surgery case reports. In the journal, health officials said the anonymous patient attended hospital with a swollen penis, complaining that he was in pain and had been bleeding from his urethra for 5 hours. Doctors wrote that his penis slipped out, lost its way, and hit the female perineal area, which is the taint, as he was trying to reinsert it.
Did they say that in there, which is a taint?
No, but that is what it is. The man lost his erection rather quickly, as you would, and was in agony. He later trotted off to a nearby health center, where he was given painkillers, and was then referred to Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center. Dr. Bartholomew Nicholas Nagawi and his team of urologists at the Kilimanjaro Christian Medical Center reported the man's penis was, quote, a bit twisted. They also claimed it had ballooned in size and was covered in blood.
Jeez, what kind of hand job was this? Was a clown there?
Anyway, an ultrasound revealed that he had broken a blood vessel in the corpora cavernosa. For the record, there are 2 spongy tubes inside the penis. The corpora cavernosa that filled up with blood and hardened, creating an erection. Let's see. An MRI follow-up showed the man had a tear from left to right through the tunica albuginea, corporal cavernosa, and corpus spongiosum. If you got all that,
yes.
that sounds like a Harry Potter thing. Corpus spongiosum. There are also a partial tear through the urethra and swelling from the stress of the injury. Despite an erection being nicknamed a boner, there are no bones in the penis. Really, there should be, though. It'd be more dependable that way.
Yeah. You could get it hard whenever you want. With
Right. However, these sorts of injuries are still referred to as penis fracture by medical professionals. The man was rushed into surgery in which a urologist degloved his penis.
Ooh, that sounds bad.
Yeah, it says do not Google that, fellas. And repaired the fracture by stitching up the corpora cavernosum, the urethra, and the corpus spongiosum, so a triple fracture. He was discharged from the hospital 3 days later. The man with the decimated doodle, they like that doodle thing, did see doctors again 6 months after the injury and reportedly he was having sex again, though hopefully not in whatever position that caused the initial injury, and his penis function had returned as normal.
I need more details as to like how it broke though. Like what was happening? Was she like that tight? Like she just clenched it or something?
No, I think what was happened is like it slipped out, and when he went to like shove it back in, like he miscalculated and rammed it into her taint instead of in the hole.
And that's what
broke it.
Ooh. Dang, he must have really gone for it. He was throwing it.
He was really throwing it, yeah. You think she got a bruised taint out?
She's got a third hole now.
Apparently, you taint where you want your penis to go. Oh, man.
Man, I mean, he must have had a pretty big penis, though, to break in 3 different places, right? Like, it sounds like broke over there, broke over here.
That's true. It is a little impressive to get that many breaks in it, so.
Good for him.
Man, this is totally apropos of nothing, but like, my sister's, I guess you could say baby daddy, the father of her first child, his dad apparently got drunk once, and I don't know how it happened, but got his dick slammed in a car door.
Oh my God.
And
was he wearing pants?
I don't know how, I mean, I wouldn't think so. But like, a part of me is like, you know, he must have had a pretty nice sized hog to be able to get it caught in the car door.
Or he like really gets up against the car when he closes it.
I don't know how it happened, but that was a story that stuck with me.
I've heard of people who said that their penises fall into the toilet water when they're about to use the restroom. And I was like, okay.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Actually, I've heard that too. And, God, I was watching, maybe it was an episode of Your Mom's House, something on YouTube, where they were selling this toilet just for, I guess, guys with massive penises that were deeper, so that wouldn't happen.
Oh, shit.
I was like, man, that's a niche thing, but I mean that makes a statement, I guess. If you have
I need
one
to see the sales numbers on that product. What am I competing with out there?
Man, I guess I'll throw it back to you.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Man caught trying to smuggle pair of scissors into prison up his bum. This is a British paper, so it's going to sound very British.
That's a harsh thing to have to smuggle.
Yeah, well, wait till you see how big they were. A man has been caught trying to smuggle contraband to an American prison by hiding into his anus. Staff at the LaPorte County Jail in Indiana made the discovery on Wednesday when the man an arrested suspect refused to cooperate during a routine search. The man reluctantly agreed to an electronic body scan, where the jail's assistant commander of operations, Lieutenant Jeff Holt, observed what appeared to be a foreign object inside the anal cavity of the USD. Despite remaining uncooperative for a second scan, a second scan found the object had moved slightly and could be identified as an 8.5-inch long pair of scissors. A spokesman for the jail added, a short time later, the scissors were removed from the arrestee without incident. Details of the man's identity or what he was arrested for have not been made public. A full body scanner was first used in jail in 2017, blah, blah, blah. Captain Derek J. Allen from the sheriff's office said Lieutenant Holt is commended for relying upon his training. So, I mean, basically, this guy subbed 8.5-inch scissors up his ass.
I was gonna say he didn't go for like the little kids like miniature scissors. He went for
ones.
he went for the full length.
He went with some sharp, big scissors. And that is a bold move, man, sticking that up your ass. I would very much fear internal injuries.
I know. Wouldn't you fear just like, I mean, first of all, how do you wrap your head around like even shoving something like that in your ass?
Yeah. Does it go handle first?
That's the other. That is a good question. I mean, the handles like definitely would be the hardest part to get in there. You almost think you would go handle first because, like, otherwise the sharp point of the scissors is pointed at your innards.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, did he at least, like, unbolt them?
It doesn't say.
Because, like, if he put them where they were still together, that would almost seem like more problematic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how you would get your asshole open enough to get the handle in there if you didn't do that.
Maybe he was just fisting like crazy.
That's true. If people can fist, I guess you probably could get a set of scissor handles up there, but good Lord.
Maybe it was to keep the penises out. Like it was a little trap.
Were these to like shiv somebody with?
I would think so. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's what you kind of think.
Yeah.
Whew. Like smuggling drugs is one thing, but smuggling scissors.
Up your ass. Bold move. Bold move.
At least it wasn't a pair of those like those gimmick scissors like a mayor will use for like a grand reopening of something.
Yeah, those prop scissors.
Man, this guy probably could have got like garden shears up there or something. Okay, here's one for you. Bouncy Castle business owner sentenced to prison after ordering arson attacks on his rivals. A Bouncy Castle business owner has been sentenced to prison after ordering a string of arson attacks against his rivals. James Balcombe, 58, was jailed yesterday and reportedly pleading guilty to 11 charges of conspiracy to commit arson against fellow competitors in the party hire equipment biz. Victoria County Police has since stated that Melbourne-based business owner was completely fixated on ensuring the success of his company and would go to extreme lengths to fight off competitors. While he first entered the party hire industry with Awesome Party Hire around 2006, everything changed when he expanded his horizons to Bouncy Castle Hire some years later in 2011. Balcombe was so hell-bent on keeping his business afloat, he devised a plot to really outdo his competitors once and for all, when he paid off his co-offenders to firebomb competing businesses between late 2016 and early 2017. He met with two men, Craig Anderson and Peter Smith, and instructed them to torch two Bouncy Castle firms to ashes in exchange for $2,000 Australian, which is about 1,000 pounds, per attack. While co-offender Smith stopped after the first two attacks, more incidents came after following a similar pattern. Judge Stuart Bales said, "You told them you wanted the jumping castles affected so they offer companies, the other companies wouldn't be making money." Balcombe even ordered an arson attack on his own factory in order to deflect suspicion. Man, he was really thinking.
He was even getting himself. Even he wasn't safe.
Balcombe became completely fixated on the success of his business. While many of the attacks, which were started by lighting fuel or Molotov cocktails, only caused minor damage, there was one particular incident that destroyed a staggering 100 bouncy castles. The arson attack at the uninsured firm A&A Jumping Castles went on to require a whopping 1.5 million Australian dollars in repair works and ended the business, totally destroying the livelihood of the business's owner. In the following days, Anderson Smith and an unnamed third person were arrested for the attack. The three co-offenders made full admissions for the crimes, with Anderson and Smith nominating Balcombe as the instigator. Balcombe's lawyer, Simon Kenny, has since dubbed the arson attack as an amateur, short-sighted, and unsophisticated.
$1.5 million worth of damage. That's not No, that is a big deal.
That's substantial, yeah. The Victoria County Court also heard of Balcom's psychological disorders and how he became completely fixated on the financial triumphs since he never experienced such success in business before. Judge Bales added, "It consumed your every waking moment and you were continually thinking of ways to maximize and advance your business. You wanted to eliminate your competition so you succeed, your business being the number one business in the industry. During the sentencing, which took place last Thursday, Bales declared Balcom's offending caused significant loss, suffering, and emotional trauma. Balcom has been sentenced with 11 years in prison after pleading guilty to 11 charges of conspiracy to commit arson with a non-parole period set at 7 years and 10 months. I mean, it's just weird to think that, like, this guy in this, like, niche business, like, that's based around, like, entertaining children would get so cutthroat that he's like, burn them down, burn them to the ground.
I don't know. This might sound racist, but Australia was born from criminals. Even the bouncy castle guy's a criminal. Jeez, I mean, you know how many documentaries I've seen about Australia having some crazy ass criminals, man? I saw a movie about this biker who would throw people into wood chippers and all kinds. Like, it was a real person.
Oh, really?
Too. Yeah, like. I don't want to go to Australia. They got the animals, they got the people. I don't want either one of those.
We should create like almost like an anthology type like Fargo show.
Yeah.
Like put it in Australia and just like tell some of these stories.
We should.
Because I feel like I really feel like these kind of things, like especially this one, remind me like of Fargo, where like these people like just get wrapped up in like horrific things because they're so stupid.
Yeah. I think I used to. This is gonna sound bad, but I watched a little bit of Daniel Tosh back in the day. People hate him for some reason.
I watched a little bit of that show. Do people hate him now?
I don't know. I guess people thought he was kind of stupid and stuff. I mean, he did some stupid stuff. I agree with that, but you know, he's funny to me.
Did he kind of go away? Like, I feel like I haven't like. Does he still do comedy? I just feel like I haven't heard about him in forever.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he just kind of like fell off, and people just stopped watching him.
I mean, that show was so popular. I imagine he's like filthy rich.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, he said on the show, like, Alabama, or Australia's the Alabama of planet Earth. I ever since he said that, I was like, yeah, I can see that. Oh, man.
It is funny, though, because, like, as we've seen on this show, like, no place on Earth doesn't have rednecks.
Yeah.
Like, even, like, India. Like,
yeah, India has
we've
its
had
own
so
rednecks.
many stories of Indian rednecks.
Yeah. Oh, my God. People, they tractor race, they tractor pull, they do all that stuff.
Yes.
They're the biggest hillbillies. And in the Middle East, they've got their own version of hillbillies. Like, yeah, everybody's got it. Everybody's got their rednecks.
It's funny that like that is like a universal thing. Like there's no place so sophisticated that they don't have.
What do you think the Taliban is?
That's true. Yeah, they're the Christian fundamentalists.
There's always rednecks to ruin everything everywhere. They don't let anybody have a good time.
That's the funny thing is like, you know, look how many like Christian fundamentalists in this country are like super racist towards like Middle Eastern people.
Yeah.
But then they don't even realize they're just like the flip side of the coin.
Exactly. Like, dude, Ahmed is you, dude. You are the same. He's got the same spirit.
They're 100% the same.
Yeah.
Man, there's this clip they show on Your Mom's House a lot where there's like these two, I think they're like Armenian gangbangers, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But they went over to the Middle East and they're like, they were like shooting AK like 47s. I think they were claiming like they were shooting at the Taliban or something, but they were just like gangbanging over in the Middle East. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Well, yeah. What are you even accomplishing? You're not getting money out of it.
And they were like, you know, representing their gang or whatever and stuff. And it was like, so it's funny. It's a funny clip.
Oh my gosh. I heard about you guys. You're from Iraq, right?
And also it's so funny because they were shooting the guns like all stupid. Like instead of like putting them against your shoulder like you would, they're just like holding them up above their head and like shooting off a bunch of like machine gun rounds. And I'm like, how This brings up so many questions. Like, how did these guys get here? Like, why are they here? What do their homies back in the States think of them?
Yeah. Who are they fighting then? Are they just fighting innocent civilians?
I think in their minds,
awful.
they were fighting the Taliban, but they were just like shooting into nothing.
Rocks. Ammo costs a lot of money.
I don't know, man. It's so bizarre, but
People just living out their fantasies.
it's almost as bizarre as a Indian kid being a white supremacist. All right, well, we are over the hour mark. This was a fun show, I think.
Yeah, I had fun.
So yeah, hopefully everybody watching had fun as well. If you will, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us thumbs up, positive reviews. You can also subscribe to us in audio form to all your podcast service of choice. And if you want, you can even come over on the Elon Musk hellscape of Twitter. Oh, by the way, what do you think of? I was going to talk about this. They opened up his Neuralink thing for human trials.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard of it.
Apparently, like, I don't know exactly how it works, but it's something that they would actually like graft like to your brain somehow, and like he thinks it has the possibility to help with like like Alzheimer's, dementia, and like basically multiple brain things where like the right connections are being made in people's brains, which I think sounds pretty cool. I saw some liberals complaining about it online and like saying like, like thin the herd, tested on like conservatives and stuff. I'm like, maybe it will be like a total like shit show, but I'm like, if something does have the potential to cure things like Alzheimer's and dementia, like, man, I'm all for it. Like,
yeah, for sure. I just, I definitely would not want to be in the first trials of that.
No, I don't want to be a first adopter.
Yeah.
Unless my brain was already going and I'm like, well, I got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose, yeah.
But anyway, where can people find you on Twitter?
Man, I got off Twitter.
Oh,
I saw cat in a blender trending, and I was like, I'm off this platform, man. I'm not doing this anymore.
Man, to be honest, I pretty much just like kind of live within the walls of Twitter. Mm-hmm. I do paste. The only thing I mostly post is like just random comic book art. So if you enjoy that, you can come over. Mm-hmm. But if anyone wants to start a conversation with me on Twitter, I'm there still. You can find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive, and that'll do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.